All right, so hey everybody, this is Greg here with 12 Step Music. On the line, I have Maria Stamper. She is a talent buyer, creative director at Smart Bar, and she's been in that position for about a year and a half now. Is that right, Maria?
It's a little bit over a year.
Yeah, a little bit over a year. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and talking to me. I know you're really busy. I mean, you're running the show. You're running Smart Bar there, doing a lot of stuff at Smart Bar. You're traveling. Some of you might know her as the Black Madonna, and then you're also married and you're a wife. So you're trying to take care of your husband too. So you got got a lot of shit.
I think it's the other way around. Usually he's the one taking care of me, but I did my best.
Awesome. So I'll just kind of get us started here. This is the first of the talks, the music talks, and the idea behind these music talks is basically is to inspire and empower the next generation of DJs, so you know they can move forward in their musical journey or whatever they are. You know, recently I had a baby, and it had quite an impact on me, and realized that I've got to give back into something for the community and give back. And I was reading your Smart Bar post at Transition No Premiere year 2, and this is basically on the same spirit as what you quoted Frankie Knuckles saying. And Frankie said, you quoted, "We're supposed to be in this together, and therefore we're supposed to be helping each other out and helping each other along and holding each other's up." And I thought that was quite an inspiring quote, and I think the spirit of this. So maybe what you can start out is can you tell us what does a Smart Bar talent buyer do, or creative director? What actually are you doing this?
Sure. Well, the easy way to explain it is that if Smart Bar were a jukebox, I'm the one that's deciding what's going to be played next. And that spans out over the calendar. I'm usually working about 4 or 5 months in advance. So basically I go through and I choose who's going to play. I choose the residencies. I work on special events. I do, right now we're getting a little bit more into some charity work with the Frankie Knuckles Foundation. We do a few sort of more civic type things, connecting to the city at large and arts communities, things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of balls to keep in the air, but so far so good.
Wow, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Frankie Knuckles Fund? I mean, how are you involved with that?
Sure. It's a charitable organization that is being started by Frankie's estate, and we've been working closely with it. Our owner, Joe Shanahan, is on the board for that organization, and so we are doing the first event that kicks off the foundation here on January 18th, and that will feature a lot of Frankie's closest associates and go to benefit the start of the foundation, which will do various kinds of philanthropic work in Chicago and throughout the world.
Awesome. So yeah, that's exciting to be starting it out. I remember being last year's Frankie's birthday party there, his last birthday party, and it was just absolutely just so many people that love that guy, and so many people support what he does, and I think that's a great cause.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about Joe Shanahan, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about Joe Shanahan and how it is to work for him, because quite frankly, I find that one of the reasons why I started working at Smart Bar is because Joe Shanahan. He's an amazing dude, and I just saw that he just let his people just grow. Can you tell us what it's been working under Joe Shanahan?
Yeah. Well, it's a dream come true.
Yeah.
Joe is, not only a great person, but a great leader, and I find that as I go along this trip and do this unique job, and also the other job that I do, which is the DJing part of stuff, that there are so many times that things I've seen Joe do or say have come into my mind when I'm trying to make a decision about how to handle something. Some of it is just things that he does, and some of it is just a way that he is. And I find myself really sometimes trying to channel his way as I'm dealing with something that maybe is particularly difficult or stressful or whatever. So as a leader, he's really a pretty powerful, transformative figure for me personally. This year, last March, Joe was diagnosed with cancer, and he is now cancer-free. One of the things that I think of all the time when I think of him and his leadership style is a trip where we visited Joe in the hospital when he was doing one of his visits that he would do regularly, and a lot of the staff came over and had lunch with him there. And as we're there and Joe's in his room, you would think that maybe he would be he would express discomfort, or he would express, the miserable aspects of it. But one of the things that I remember hearing him say over and over again was, how great this or that was. Oh, isn't this food great? The nurses are great. This hospital is great. The art on the walls is great. And it was just sort of like he was making a list of these things that were good, and it seems like a really simple thing, but the effect of that it has on you and on the people around you is really extremely powerful. And up to that point, I think the first 6 months that I really struggled with some of the stress and the overwhelming qualities of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm still stressed at times, and I still am absolutely overwhelmed with tasks between this and travel. But my ability to deal with those things has been enhanced by watching how Joe balances a lot of that stuff. And the longer that I work with him, the more I am aware of it. And it's probably as much as anything, there's a sort of legendary stat, but more than his connections or the things that he's done or the people he knows or the things he's seen, the thing to me that is most powerful about working with Joe is just his attitude in the face of really, really difficult stuff, and then even the small stuff. So he's a really great leadership role model.
Yeah, and I think you definitely hit on something really, really important there, is an attitude of gratitude. And something I think about all the time is when you're grateful for what you have, you don't have any room to be angry about what's going on and frustrated. So I think attitude of gratitude is key in life and in music.
It is, and it's really hard sometimes. Sometimes it's really easy to lose track of that, and I certainly in times of exhaustion have just felt like, oh my God, I can't do this today. But more often than not, you can dig yourself out of a hole with that stuff.
Yeah, and it's great to have memories like that. Like that story you just said, visiting Joe at the hospital there, and just that like puts everything in perspective when you come up and face challenges in your life. You got to realize that even at those tough moments, just keep on having that gratitude, and things will be right. So moving on here. Obviously you didn't start right away at Smart Bar. How did you end up at Smart Bar? Can you give us? I've been reading about you, just kind of all the interviews you've done a lot, and you've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and there's quite a lot of history about you. So, if you could just give us maybe a little short summary of like how you ended up, what jobs you took along the path to end up to get you to Smart Bar in the music industry.
I had a lot of really shitty jobs when I was younger. I managed a restaurant when I was in college. Let's see. I did work for my parents' marketing firm for a while. That was really interesting and really good for me. And I was really young. And let's see, right after college, you know what? I sold mixtapes. I did that. And then after I got out of college, one of my competitors in the mixtape industry asked me to come and work for him in Chicago, and that's how I came here. And then I worked there. Right. It was a very low-paying job with very long hours, usually 10 to 12 hours a day, which I did for years. I think I came in 2006 and wasn't completely done until, I don't know, 2010 or something. I worked there on and off for 4 years.
And you stuck it through, even though, you know, like, what made you keep it going, even though you said it's a low-paying job? I mean, obviously, what's going on in your mind, you know? You're sticking it through.
I just have always had the feeling that a low-paying job in a field that you care about is better than a moderately paying job in a field that you don't care about. And I have always been willing to make that sacrifice. And also, I feel like one thing is just the kind of the patience. You know, I've always kind of not expected an immediate result. I've always kind of had, while I didn't have like a series of steps where like if something went wrong, then it's game over. I think that's a really dangerous way of thinking. Like, okay, this is where I want to go, and here's step A, B, C, D. And if I don't get here in this way, or if this thing that I planned, if this was a plan that I had and it doesn't go the way that I want, then I'm done. And even also
that's a great attitude.
maybe not having like a specific finish line. Like one thing that I always felt was like I want to have a job that pays well and is in the industry that I care about, but maybe not even knowing what that was, like what that job looked like. Like I didn't always want to be a DJ. I didn't always want to be a talent buyer in a club. Those were not things that I knew I wanted to be, but there were things about those things that I knew I wanted. And
So you didn't have an exact plan. Did you have like a vision? I mean, did you have an end goal in mind? Like, are you just like, I'm going to be in this electronic music, or I'm going to be in house music, and that's where I'm going to be, but not necessarily like I'm going to be a talent player. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I never had a final vision. And then on the other hand, on some stuff I did. Like once I started to really like when I started making records and things like that, and I felt like there was something to it, like, oh, this I really feel confident about this piece of music or whatever. Then I did have some concrete things that I wanted to do. And this last couple of changes in my career were very specific things that I wanted. There was a point where, for a long time, I didn't know that I wanted to be a talent buyer or work at Smart Bar or whatever. I did not know that. Eventually, I did figure that out, though, because my friend had the talent buyer job here, Nate, who I had worked with at Dust Tracks. And then I found out Nate had gotten the job here, and then later on I found out that he was maybe thinking about leaving. And I thought, oh, boy, I want that job. But I didn't know how to go about getting it. And honestly, I didn't do anything to try to get it. I just didn't. I didn't do anything. But then one day, Nate called me and asked me to apply, and that was how it happened. And I don't want to invest any kind of like magical thing there. Anything, like those, the books, The Secret. I don't want to make any kind of magical assumptions about that. But I do think that there was just a general, when you are willing to do good work, whether you're immediately rewarded for it or not, in a field that, even work that is maybe beneath your skill level, when you do whatever work it is that you do, when you treat it as if you have a different job than you do. Oh, and that was a big thing for me. I would always do stuff past past what I was asked to do. Like I would always kind of.
So you went the extra mile.
I would just kind of like give myself a new job, whether it was my real job or not. Like I would always just do stuff that I thought was supposed to be. I don't even want to say like the extra mile, but like do stuff that maybe was not even necessarily my job, and then that would be seen as a thing that was of worth. And then magically I would have a promotion or whatever. And so like at Dust Tracks I just started and I was like a data entry person.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it I was running most of their departments.
Wow.
Because I would just do it,
Yeah.
I would just do it.
Really,
and then they were like, okay, great.
Really inspiring.
They were like, okay, great. You're now you're the label manager for all 45 labels. It's like, oh, okay. Or whatever that was. And there was a lot of that. I went through being like data entry, and then I was the head of digital distribution, and then it was like, so it kind of like all of those things. And then by the end of it, I had built up this crazy resume and all of this stuff from like nothing. And a lot of it, it's not like I was being paid big money for that by any stretch of the imagination. But where it served me well was when I came here to Smart Bar, and then I had this slamming resume. Never mind the fact that I had eaten ramen noodles for 4 years, but nobody. But I could do a lot.
Wow.
And so
that's a really inspiring story, and that's definitely I think that's a huge. I believe that's a huge part of your success is that you find ways to add value to wherever you're at, no matter what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think another part of your success is that you're such a great people person. The people around you just love you, and you're just so genuine. I mean, do you have any philosophy about? Do you have any philosophies about people and people in the industry? I mean, like, do you love people? Do you?
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider myself. I'm gonna maybe blow your mind here. I'm not actually really a people person. That part is really hard for me.
Yeah.
I really have a hard time with that. I feel like I don't know what to talk to people about sometimes. I struggle with that part. And so I would say that if you're a person that does struggle with those things, don't let it make you feel like you can't do it. There are some things that I did to help with that. One thing that really helped me was when I was at Dust Tracks, I used to have to cold call people, and I was really bad at it because I was shy, and I felt like this, that, the other, and so I read up on cold calling, and I learned some real, any problem that you're having with that kind of interpersonal stuff as it relates to your work, somebody has probably done some research on it and has some ideas. I would say just like don't be afraid to take the thing that you're the worst at and then try to learn how to do it to a degree, because what it can do is free you from some of your limitations where, like I'm not really a people person. I'm not. And I have a really hard time talking to people sometimes. I can be really shy. I kind of don't know what to do in clubs, all of those things, and people would not know it, but it's absolutely true. I mean, my preferred environment is at home on the couch. It really is. I'm not at this point in my life a big clubber. I'm not a partier, all of those kinds of things. But I get through it, and there are some things that I've done to kind of take a little bit of control of those feelings that I have, and even in the last.
What do you do? I'm curious. What do you do when for instance, you're at a club and you're starting to feel a little shy or something like that? 'Cause quite frankly, I get like those moments too myself. I don't know what to say sometimes. I'm just kind of like, it was interesting because the other day I was talking to my friend actually at Smart Bar, and then I introduced him to another friend. He's like, oh, how do you know Greg? And then he's like, oh, well, just let around. I don't know. And he said, Greg's like the quietest guy I know. And I thought about that. I'm like, that's crazy.
Am I?
But it really, I'm like, well, I kind of take pride in that because I really believe that, you can learn more by listening and watching than you can do by talking. but at the same time, whatever personality you may be, there's a place for you anywhere, if it's in a club or if it's at a concert or even, I don't know, church or something like that. But do you have some strategies that you use when you get kind of shy, or?
Yeah, some of it is just kind of like sitting with it and like letting it be. Like, hey, maybe I feel that way, and maybe it's okay if I just go sit down by myself. Some of it is just that. Having something to do in the club was a big help, and I think one of the reasons that I really have enjoyed DJing is that it gave me a reason to be in the club and know what to do with myself. And
yeah,
that's the thing. And some of it is just kind of like, sometimes when I don't want to go, I don't go.
Yeah.
I mean, not feeling pressure to party, not feeling pressure to be a part of the nightlife all the time, even though I work in it. There are many times that I do not come into the club, even when I'm in town on the weekends, and that is totally okay. There are other people, or sometimes I come for a very short period of time, and I come and say hello to the people that I want to say hello to, and then I go home. And some of it is just, that kind of, it's just moderation. Just letting myself be the way I am and not feeling like I have to fix it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, there's a guy, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I was just listening to an interview with him, and he talks about whenever, because he's huge on writing, and whenever he starts feeling like self-doubt or whatever about his writing, he just kind of calms himself and he just surrenders to those feelings, and that's it.
Oh, totally.
Just surrender and just let it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that reminds me of that. So now with Smart Bar, can you talk about the direction that Smart Bar is taking, the vision that you have with Smart Bar? With
we're definitely going towards more of a residency kind of situation. Right now we're kind of testing our 2015 residencies to see how they do, and we'll adjust as we go into the new year. We're definitely, we're it's still, it's a process. This is just my first year here. Knowing what works, it takes time. Sometimes we have a slam dunk, and sometimes we have a bad weekend, and that's what it is. I think a lot of times people outside of America imagine Smart Bar as just being this amazing packed mecca at all times. And you know what? Sometimes it's really great a lot of the time. But we have our off nights, and we learn from those too. As Joe says, it's not about having the most people here. It's about having the right people here. And Smart Bar is amazing when we have 300 people who really want to be here. We're not a big bottle service club. There's no dress code, none of that. We're a little off the beaten path. So, we're just kind of adjusting. And I think if anything, we're moving back towards the model that built Chicago, which is, residents and a certain kind of club culture that is deeply rooted in the space itself, we're just still figuring out who we are. But I can say that no matter what, it's going to come down to resonance.
So it's about the residents. I got you. So how do you deal with? How do you deal with off nights?
Wait for them to end. That's it. You live to fight. You live to.
Yeah.
You live to fight again. Sometimes you can't win them all, man.
Yeah. That's so true, isn't it?
Can't win them all.
You can't win them all. Can't take them personally either. You just got to keep doing what you're doing, right? You just got to keep moving forward each day and pursuing the goals, whatever the vision you may have.
Exactly.
So can you talk to us a little bit about the curated nights at Smart Bar, like Hugo Ball and Planet Chicago?
Those would be the residencies. Yeah.
They all have their
Those are residencies, yeah. They all have their own flavor. Hugo Ball has a manifesto. It just each one has their own idea. Planet Chicago is kind of Sam's interpretation of Chicago. Hugo Ball is a sort of a pansexual punk thing that's about democracy on the dance floor. I mean, they all have a point of view.
Got you. All right. And then as far as looking for residents, when you're looking at residents, like what are you looking for? What are you looking for people that are residents?
Some of it is creative output, definitely, especially not so much for the junior residents, but for the senior residents. We're looking for people that have a strong catalog of releases. We want to see people working with labels, independent labels. Let's see, what else? We want to see a history with the city. We want to see a point of view. Some of it is just, are they easy to work with? That's just the one thing that maybe is undersaid, which is that the residents should all be friends. They should admire each other. They should have mutual respect. They should be able to work in a group. They should be able to work sometimes without a tremendous amount of immediate reward. They should be able to delay gratification. Some of patient, kind, thoughtful, all of that stuff. We certainly have a certain set of values in the club that go back to the beginning of the day that the doors open. We've always been mixed along color lines, gender, sexual orientation, all of that stuff. We've always been a nice mixture of all of those things, and our residency program certainly looks like that. We have, I think, 5 women. We have transgender women. We have people of color. We have queer people. We have, you name it. And I think kind of the residency program, not that we don't make a decision based on any of those things, but having a rich and diverse program that reflects a rich and diverse audience is something that has really evolved naturally here, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, that's definitely something to be proud of, and I agree. It's just kind of like Smart Bar is a melting pot of everybody, and I always like to say that it's like that, like Cheers. It's like your local bar where you can go hang out with your buddies and your friends,
exactly.
and just that's what I've always seen as Smart Bar is. I mean, obviously it's a club. It has that feeling from the security staff to the DJs to the bartenders to the managers. Everybody's friendly and everybody's it's Cheers basically.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned something about your junior resident program. What goes on with that? I mean, what are you looking for in a junior resident?
We're looking for people that show a certain amount of promise. Usually they're connected to an existing residency in some way or have a tight connection there, as with, Jarvie and Observer. They were deeply connected already to the Planet Chicago event. Steve Mizak had done a number of Little White Earbuds events here. Those were factors. In the past, we had, we had the Stripped and Chewed guys. We have, it's definitely it's kind of like built in a closeness to the existing residents, and then also the idea that we think that you're going to do hopefully what we would want to see, which is in terms of releases and things like that, and then move up into the senior residency program, and maybe develop events and stuff like that.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome. Just finishing up here, just a couple last things here. I know you got to get back. You've got a busy schedule here.
Yeah.
So I guess you must get a lot of interesting requests to play, at Smart Bar. Probably people always bombard you about, like, can I play? Can I play? What would you say? What's the most professional or professional way to go about playing at Smart Bar? What do you like to see? Do you like to see someone send in an email, contact you directly, or, do you want them not to say anything at all? How does that work?
No, here's the thing.
Yep.
It's tough because and I feel like maybe this is something you should ask me a year from now when I figure out how to balance this part of it. Definitely one of the best things to do, because we do emphasize so strongly people that are working with labels, people that are putting out releases, things like that. One of the best ways to make sure that we're getting your message is to just keep us in the loop on that. Send us promos. Let us know what you're doing. If you're playing other clubs that are relevant to the network that we're in, we want to work with people that are routing from output and stuff like that. Some of that is just about, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so some of that is important to us, and some of it is just being patient. But
right.
In general, I think the main thing is to A, be patient, and B, remember that being able to play records is absolutely the starting point, but it's not the end. There are a lot of factors that go, and this is not just me speaking, this is my experience with many clubs, into the decision about who will have play. And some of it is just your ideas in general. Some of it is if you're doing your own events. Some of it is what releases you have. That's a big factor for us. We want to see people that are releasing. We're looking for kind of Renaissance DJs, people that are running labels, people that are deeply ingrained in their communities. Those are all factors that matter. People who get the idea of the club. Sometimes we have people that are wildly popular who have huge fan bases, who are many, many, many wonderful things, but they're just not a fit with the club. So certainly the idea that we only make a decision about who's playing here based on someone being big enough to play here is not correct. We often book people that no one has heard of on the scale of like a larger DJ, because that person has incredible work that they're doing from a production standpoint, and then we know that they're a great DJ or they're a great live PA or whatever, or they're working with labels that we really admire, and we know that that idea will connect with our crowd. So it's not a bigger is better, or that, somebody who doesn't have a huge fan base can't play here, because you absolutely can. And in fact, I have to say, we turn down many, many more big DJs than small DJs.
I bet. That's really awesome. Thank you for that. That was perfect. That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's paying it forward to
it's
DJ.
It's about what you can do.
Right. It's about doing. It's about like getting out there and whatever you got to do, whether you got to start a blog, whether you start a label, get involved and just doing, right? Rather than sitting on your couch and stewing about why you're not playing. You just got to go out there and find different ways to get involved. And that's from every DJ I've ever talked to and every producer I've ever talked to. It's just about getting involved and getting out there and doing.
Absolutely.
I'm going to finish off with that because that was a perfect answer and a great first interview for this talk. And I'm so grateful for you because really, I think you're going to be helping a lot of people with the questions that go in people's heads. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the call, and have a great day, and Kiss the baby for me.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
I will. Take care.